Welcome back, 5011 fam.
No, no. Daylight
Daylight
come and me
come
want
and we
go.
go. Yes.
No, me
I'm excited for
say
that to come out. The sequel after 30
It's out.
years. I mean, I'm excited to see it. That's what I meant to say.
She was like, you eat
That's
a
what I meant
nut?
to say. And that's the perfect little intro. Guys, it's Dee Dee, it's Jay
That's why I
doing what
did
we
that.
do, having
Cause
conversation that spark conversation. It was literally
yeah.
perfect. If
I'm
you
like,
didn't catch
what
the
is
spirit
the
of,
perfect spooky season song? I
there
could
it
have hit
is.
y'all with the This Is Halloween, but for the culture, we got to hit you at.
Mine is I Put a Spell on You.
Yes, I love that
Both the
song.
Nina Simone version and the Hocus Pocus version.
Yes.
So it's a 5011 spooky wing. We don't know what we're gonna call it. And you gotta be calling nothing special. We get into some of the
Whatever it
spooky
is, it's
things.
spooky season.
It is spooky season, y'all. And this episode is gonna be a little bit different. We are going to have a conversation like our typical little kiki, but it's going to be a spooky kiki. We're going to tell a
Yes.
little ghost story here and there. We're going to reminisce and talk about some of the nostalgia growing up with spooky things. And, we're going to, just kind of catch up. So thank you
Yes.
so much for tuning in to another episode of the Pitch Them Chronicles.
Ew.
Before
Were
we
you
get into
always
it,
I was gonna ask,
no,
were you
but I
always
always what?
like were you always as a kid like into spooky season?
No.
Oh
I was raised
yeah.
real
Oh
holy, like
yeah. You was
trunk or
at the church
treat.
lock-in. Gotcha.
E- Look, whew. But we always did like a trunk or treat. Now I'll say this. I was a Disney kid through and through growing up.
Hmm.
So I caught a lot of like Disney Channel original movies that were spooky that always
Hmm.
did it for me. Like they
Yeah.
always did it for me. And there
I
I
think
have my
ABC
favorites.
used to play them all the time too.
ABC, Disney. I catch a little, a little Nickelodeon, a little Cartoon Network. And then sometimes when I wasn't afraid, I would stray over to sci-fi.
Ooh.
Or when I was really it was late night and I was trying to sneak, I would go over to a Comedy Central and watch like Scary Movie, Scary Movie
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, one of those, or like on the Sci-Fi I might watch a little Child's Play, little BET had
Yeah.
Candyman, Tales from the
Chucky was
Hood.
my intro to all things horror. And I was
Chucky was
way too
mine too.
young. We were at
Wait,
we were at my cousin's house. Like one of my grown cousins, they lived in Milwaukee. And we were at their house and it just was on and I wouldn't look away. My mom kept trying to come and I just kept looking. I'm like, no, like I couldn't look away. I just
mm-hmm.
had to watch, but it was scary because I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, but I'm like, no, like I
Me
have to see
too.
this.
Me
Like I need to
too.
know what's gonna happen.
So that's so wild because one of my vivid early memories of being like 3, 4, 5 in that range with
Yeah.
my dad at his house with my uncles and like their homeboys and homegirls and girlfriends, everybody be there and people coming in and out, minding their business. But I remember being in front of the TV watching Child's Play. Like, and was not scared of Chucky until I was like a little bit older than when I first started watching him. It was really weird. Like I turned 8 and all of a sudden I was afraid Chucky was going to like jump out of everything and take me out. Like everything about Chucky scared me at 8.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know, the really early memories of being like in a kid's little seat or a beanbag situation and watching Child's Play.
I
Loved
don't
it.
even know if I was necessarily like scared of
Oh, I
Chucky.
was. I was.
But that it was like a running joke between me and my granddad. Like whenever I would go to his house, he would always be like, he'd just randomly be like, "Oh, Chucky, go get you!" Just walk up to me and just say, or like if I get up and go to the bathroom, he'd be like, "Make sure Chucky ain't in there." Like just
Yeah,
random. But it's like
yeah.
I don't. It's weird because it's like it's one of those things where it's like when you a kid, it's like I wasn't scared, but I also everybody that knows me knows I don't do dolls. I don't do dogs. I've seen the movie Tiny Soldiers or Small Soldiers. I
Small
saw Toy
Soldiers. That's a good
Story,
one.
all of them. I don't do dogs. Small Soldiers. I was like, see, I knew it. I knew it. I knew they was
That one. What
all up
about
to some. I don't
Did you ever
do
see
doll. Like any horror
Dolly
movie with
Dearest?
a doll, like that'll
Girl, you
scare
got to
me.
see Dolly Dearest. You
I
got to
don't
see
know
that one.
Dolly Dearest.
It's an old school, like maybe 80s horror movie
Mm,
with like a porcelain doll.
mm.
Ciao. Dolly Dearest. That was a good one. I was a little older when I
And
finally
I
saw
seen
Dolly
a
Dearest.
Chucky Funko Pop when I was at Five Below, and I thought about getting it too. But then, like, a part of me was like, but if they do be coming alive, I don't want to have one in my house.
I don't want to have one. Come on now. Like that was my
If
thing because they
one day
always
they just decide to come
to get
alive,
possessed.
I
But
don't want
no,
to
okay,
find out.
because we're gonna get into some ghost stories. But before
Yes.
we do, I want to start by saying this because the nature of what Halloween is commercially, at least in our country,
Hmm.
is this spooky season of spending money on candy and costumes and going out and partying, or going door to door and getting candy from strangers, or meeting up at your favorite holy place and getting
Yes.
candy out of a trunk from people that you see. And I don't know because the origins of Halloween, for those who don't know, the origins are truly spiritual.
Yes.
It's truly spiritual. It
Yes.
was in Mexico. It's called the Day of the Dead. Different cultures have different
Dia de la
names, but
Dia de las Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
Muertos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
muertos, yes. So it was a day in which they believed that there was a bridge essentially between the spirit realm and the natural realm, and
Hmm.
that was the one day a year your ancestors could come back. So they would have these huge altars. They still do huge altars where they put their favorite things, their favorite, drink or cigars, or their favorite foods. They prepare their favorite foods. They cover these, and I can't remember the name of what these altars. There's a specific name for these altars because of how they're built up. But they cover them in,
My
chrysanthemums
Spanish
and,
teacher
and,
would
and
be so upset.
roses. I've written it down too. There's a name for it, for the type of altar it is. But it's one that grows essentially because they don't just do it overnight, over one night. This is something they take their time, maybe throughout the month, constructing, because the night of Dia de los Muertos, the town comes alive, and sugar skulls are something that are really popular. The painted,
Hmm.
skulls, for
Yes.
people who
I
aren't familiar, they're painted with,
love
they're so
the painted
beautiful.
skulls. I'm
They're so
absolutely am
beautiful, but they have
obsessed with
these
them.
floral designs and all these wonderful vines and colors. And I mean, they're gorgeous. Some are in vibrant colors, some are in black and white. I mean, and they all mean things. And it's just a beautiful spiritual connection back to the ancestors. And that's something in African tradition there's been about having
Hmm.
an ancestral altar and connected to your ancestors. So it has become something that's hyper commercialized because
Yes.
now all people
Like
think of
America
with
does
Halloween is
everything.
spooky movies, spending money on, it's really about spending money at this point, just like
Hmm.
Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the other
Spending
holidays.
money
Is
on
just all about
candy, stuff
on
we don't
candy,
need,
on
costumes.
decorations,
But I love
costumes.
every bit of it.
I love it. I do love it.
But I don't
I,
care about the candy really.
yeah,
The costumes are cool. Costumes I'm
the
with.
costumes are
I love a good
cool.
dress up. I love
I
a good
think you
dress up.
also get to see some people in like a different nature that they only feel
Yes,
comfortable doing then. And that's not always a great thing,
exactly.
but for some people that is a great thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of those you have to
And
take
then
it
I love the
case by
spooky of it
case.
all. I love like the spooky of it all. And then for me, like I went to like a global education school, so they would celebrate that type of stuff. So I got
Hmm.
exposure to the Day of the Dead like super early. And so like for me, I kind of always understood the full of it all, like the full picture of it all. Because like even when we like did Valentine's Day, they still like we went over what that came from. That ain't the happiest of stories, but
Right.
I got the chance to like fully understand. So if I even growing up choosing to celebrate certain things, at least I know fully what I'm celebrating and why. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I love everything. Fall is my favorite time of year. Everybody knows me
Love
knows that.
fall.
It's my favorite time of year. Pull out the pumpkins, pull out the skeletons, tell me a scary story, pour me a cup of tea, some hot cocoa. I'm with it.
Hmm.
I'm all with it. I
I'm
love
here for
every
all
piece
of
of
that.
it.
I'm here for all of that. I
And
know you're not a coffee
decorating.
drinker.
Halloween decorations are lit.
Yes, I agree. It's now let me tell you this. As I've gotten older, my taste in Halloween decorations has changed because I used to be
Hmm.
more of like love the spider webs and love the skeletons,
Those
and
is the
I
one thing I
still
didn't
they
like.
still give me
Hate the spider
they still give me a vibe, but like for
web.
me, I'm all about, and it's come from different places I've worked to, seeing different things. I have seen the most beautiful crystal pumpkins. I mean, like beautiful,
Yeah,
like frosted glass, like
yeah.
beautiful crystal, all different colors and shades and peach. And then I've also seen real pumpkins that are maybe hybrids or grown specifically to look different. So white
Mhm,
pumpkins, these light
mhm.
pale green Cinderella pumpkins, like all these, there's just so many cinnamon everywhere for everything. Cinnamon sticks,
I
cinnamon
hate
brooms.
that cinnamon apple scented stuff though.
I
That
don't
is the
like that. No, no, no,
one
no. I don't like
thing
the
I
apple
don't
cinnamon
like.
because it doesn't feel authentic. It feels real fake and artificial smelling. Like I don't like, now I like, there's something that I usually eat around this time too. It's oh my gosh, what's it called? It's an apple cider donut.
Oh, I've never had an
Oh,
apple cider donut before.
oh my gosh.
Where do
Moist.
you get that from?
So I used to work at, Fresh Market has them. So
Mhm.
Fresh Market has them, but you can find them just about anywhere. Trader Joe's has them.
Really? Let
Different
me see.
bakeries actually will make them. An apple cider donut for me does it every time.
I'm gonna
Every
see if like
fall,
next month Whole Foods has them out
they might. Maybe even
or
Publix.
Trader
Publix might
Joe's
have them.
or Publix.
Trader Joe's should because I saw some in
Yeah.
there.
Okay, I'm gonna go
I
to
work
Trader
near
Joe's
Trader
then.
Joe's, so I be
I'm
seeing the
gonna do
things, and they got them. Trader Joe's got apple cider donuts.
it. Gotcha.
But I love a good apple cider. Like I will drink apple
Yeah, I like
cider
apple cider too.
from the second I see a leaf
Listen,
change
take me to
colors
the
until the
pumpkin
next new leaf
patch
comes in.
with the hay
Pumpkin
squares
patch,
and give me some apple
corn. Look,
cider.
the corn mazes. Have you done the corn
Listen,
mazes? Love me a
yes,
corn maze.
love me a good scarecrow. I love it all. I'm just
Yes.
here for. Let's go play hack a sack.
Hmm.
Let's do it all.
Yes. A little hack
Now I ain't
stack.
bobbing for no apples. That's where I draw the line.
I'm
I
good
ain't
on that.
bobbing for no apples.
I'm good on that.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm good on that. But I will eat me some of a caramel apple. I sure
give
will.
me a caramel apple. I'm
Give me
an
a
apple
caramel apple in a
cider, and I'm
heartbeat.
good. Let's just walk through and get
And
our
I know
fill.
you're not a coffee drinker, but I know some of our
No.
listeners might be. So before you shade us, you just hold it. Hold on to it. I'm gonna say I also love and I'm not a pumpkin spice latte people, so I don't want to
Mm,
hear nothing about that.
I'm not a
But
pumpkin
my
spice
maple
girl.
cinnamons, my maple vanillas, I pull out the maple. I also pull out the lavender because y'all, I have started making these lavender
In coffee?
lattes. Girl, lavender latte is the truth. It is so good and it keeps me
I feel
so
like y'all
at
say
peace.
latte to make it sound sexy. Lavender latte.
It's, it does make it a little sexier because you get that little frothed milk on top. And but I use a lavender syrup, and it's so, like, I had this thing called an apple crisp macchiato the other day,
Mm.
and it took me there. All I saw were yellow, orange, red leaves, and they were maple leaves, and I was there,
I ain't gonna lie, the
living my
coffee do be
best
having
life.
good names. They do have some good names. Very enticing names.
Wonderful smells, beautiful gowns. That's what that
Beautiful
was giving,
gowns.
was beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns. Yes, beautiful gowns. So okay, there's a little origin, there's a little decor. What about like some of your favorite movies, your favorite spooky
Oh my
movies?
gosh. Okay.
Let's
So
start
first of
with
all,
let's start with the kiddie ones. Let's start with
okay.
the youngin. Let's start with the lower level. We're gonna work our way up to this actual scary, but
We'll
let's
start
start
with the
with
kids.
spooky theme and work our way up. So what you got,
So
low
I'll
level spooky
say for the
theme?
kids. Now, first of all, every Halloween, ABC would always play Charlie Brown. So
Yes,
would always
Charlie
watch that.
Brown. Charlie Brown's
And
a good one.
then for the kids, what's like my favorite kid? Obviously, The Nightmare Before Christmas is like, and then because it's also Britney's favorite movie, so like we wore
Ward
Christmas
out.
and Halloween wore.
That's on like Christmas and Halloween. It's appropriate for both.
Like all the like every time we go into a store during this time and she see Jack Skellington, like it's over
It's
with.
over.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
I
I
like
think that's probably like my because I like the actual scary stuff as a kid. I would say like the kid one for me would probably be The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love The
okay.
Nightmare Before
I
Christmas.
have a few kid ones because it took me a minute to really enjoy scary movies. I like watching scary movies with other people. I don't always like watching them
No,
by
I
myself.
want to be scared. Like I need to
I like
lights off.
some.
I
But
want the lights
no,
off. I
my
want
energy
the.
to be too spirit, be too sensitive, my spirit be too sensitive, and I dream so vividly, I can't always
I do
handle it.
too,
Like I dream
but
so vividly,
I don't have nightmares. I only have one
I
specific
do.
nightmare, so
I've
I'll be
had
good.
a few
I be knowing
nightmares.
like this isn't real.
I've had, but and you know, I do too. I think that's also though why I don't watch certain scary movies more than once. Those
Mhm.
that deal with the spiritual realm, I just can't
Mhm.
stay in that realm too long. But okay, let's
Yeah.
start with the kid ones, because I'm gonna get to some of the ones that I've only watched once and will only watch once, and others that I watched numerous times. I loved a lot of like kid like spooky movies because on Disney they had so many. Every Halloween you'd have a whole month of spooky
Yeah.
things, and that was actually where I first saw Thriller. So the first time I saw Michael Jackson
Yes.
Thriller was actually on Disney Channel. Love Thriller. That
This
was
ghost
okay.
his ghost video count is like a kid's spooky movie.
Hmm.
This Michael Jackson ghost video count. That's
We'll
what
say
they.
we'll say okay. We'll give it a pass. We'll give it a pass. I recently saw Coco. Coco is a
Honey, we
fabulous,
love Coco. Does that
fabulous
count
and
as a Halloween
appropriate.
movie? Oh
Yes, Day
yeah,
of the
because
Dead.
it was
It's
deal.
happening. It's all
Duh.
taking place on Day of the Dead.
Duh.
So Coco for sure. And I also encourage people who want to share with their kids the true meaning of Dia de los Muertos and where Halloween came from. I would encourage them to show their kids
Coco
Coco.
made me cry. Coco
Coco is
made me shed a
sad
thug tear.
there,
I
but
did
it's
shed a thug
also it's
tear.
got a wonderful ending. It has a wonderful
It
meaning, and
does.
I think
It's
especially
good. It's
for people
funny.
of color, especially people of color, the importance of connection to our ancestors and what it means to remember them and
Mm-hmm.
why we have altars and why we do these things.
Yes.
That is like, I think it's so powerful because it breaks it down so that even kids can understand why certain things are done
Mm-hmm.
and why we have to remember the people we've lost. I was also a really big fan of the Halloween Town line of movies. The first one in
What's
particular was one
Halloween
of my
Town?
favorite. You never heard of Halloween Town?
I told
Girl,
you
let
I
me
was
tell you about
watching
Halloween
the
Town.
actual scary.
So let me tell you, as a kid,
I was watching
this
Sixth
was
Sense instead.
I love Sixth Sense. No, Sixth Sense is still I still love Sixth Sense. Um,
Yeah.
so I was heavily, I was very sheltered growing up. We've already, discussed this in previous episodes. So there was a lot of monitoring what I watched, and Disney Channel was one of the things that never gave anybody a problem. So, Halloween Town was the story of this girl finding out essentially she was born a witch. She's at the age where her powers were like getting ready to activate, and her grandmother was coming to visit on Halloween. And they were like, really wondering, why is grandma only coming to visit on Halloween? Around Halloween, we rarely get to see you, girl. Like, what is going on? And she goes, oh,
Hmm.
where I live. I just can't. I just stay there most of the time. And this is one of the times I can really catch the bus. And it was just real vague. But essentially, grandma lives in a place called Halloween Town, which is a magical realm that she takes that the bus travels between Halloween Town and the real world once a year.
Hmm.
And in Halloween Town, this is where all the witches and ghouls and goblins and skeletons and all those people actually live in a town and function like a town. Functions just like a
Hmm.
town, but there's something going on in the town. The energy is off, something weird is going on. And that's why grandma came home, because her daughter, the girl's mom, she's trying to get her to come back. Like, I need you. Like, you were a really powerful witch until you came here and you swore
Hmm.
off all magic and everything. Like, I need your help. I can't do this by myself. Something's going on. And the oldest daughter hears it. So there's an older daughter, a middle son, and a younger daughter. And it turns out all three of them got the magic.
Hmm.
And they end up sneaking onto the bus and coming to Halloween Town. And they get into all types of shenanigans. And for those who have never seen it, it's cutesy. It's cutesy, and it's a 90s, early 2000s Disney movie. So it's going to have that
Yeah.
feel.
Is it
But
was it a real people movie?
yes, not animated.
Oh, okay. That's probably the only real people. I didn't really get into the real people Disney stuff because I ain't gonna lie, like it was kind of corny to it used to be like High School Musical. I say this used to be like kind of I don't
This
know
was
why.
way
As a
before High
kid, I
School
did.
Musical. Yeah,
So
this is
I'm saying
way
like
before High
the
School
real
Musical.
people movies. I don't know why. Like I did watch the one with Tia and Tamir where they were like witches or something like that. They were like
That's
sisters,
another one, Twitches.
twitches. Yeah, but I think that's the only one that I've ever seen is twitches.
Okay. Well, I watched a bunch of
But
them.
you
I
know
ain't gonna
what?
go into all of them, but I
That
had a
made me
good
think
time with
about
those. It
that
was a
sounds
really good.
good though. That sounds good because that made me think about like how them finding out they had powers and stuff. That sounds like that was something I would have wanted to watch when I was a kid because that's what really like that was one of the things that always drew me to it. Because I even as a kid I always wanted to be a witch, like always. So it was like that always is like was a part of my love for spooky season because like I just was like, oh, I can't wait until like my witchy powers come in. Like one day I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna wake up and I'm gonna have powers and
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna be
have them.
Sabrina, the teenage
Yeah.
witch. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't wait till I turn 16.
Ooh, I used to love some Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Charmed. Charmed was another one I used to
Yes,
always
Charmed was
vibe
my
to.
show. I love
Charm was the truth.
Witches of Eastwick. Did you watch Witches of Eastwick? Witches of
Mm-mm.
Eastwick was good. I love that one too.
I've heard of it, and I think it might be on one of my lists on
It's on
one of the platforms. It's on my
it's on
list.
like
I
I think
feel
it's on
like
like Hulu or HBO Max, one of the girls.
I feel like it's on one of my lists. I feel like I've come across it. Okay, so what about some of the spooky other movies that you really enjoyed?
Okay, so first of all, one of my favorite franchises is The Children of the Corn.
I
I
love Children of the Corn.
love the. I have literally all. I have the whole DVD set of all the Children of the Corn. One thing, like, what gets me with the spooky stuff is the dolls and it's the kids. Cause the kids and the scary stuff, man, the kids be so creepy. They always be so weird. And them damn
Very
children of them
weird.
damn corn was so
The
bad.
possessed children.
Them children of the corn used to be cutting up. Like they be out
Terrible.
in the fields. You know, me a city kid, I'm like, see, that's why you can't go to the country. I used to be scared of like living in the country. I'm like, see, when children of the corn go get you, they gonna come up
Mm-hmm.
out the fields on you. But I love that one. I love all of the Halloweens. Like, sign me up. Jason, Six Sense, 13 Ghosts. Like when I tell you,
Love 13 Ghosts.
every
That was one of my
all
first real
like as a
horror movies
kid,
I
that
got
was the
into.
stuff that I used to watch as a kid of like
Yeah,
the
I
adult
didn't.
stuff. Like
Mm-mm.
that's what I used to
Mm-mm.
be on. And
Nope.
then
Mm-mm.
for like a small few years in like the early 2000s, we had direct TV. So that's when I really would get to see like the cable stuff because we didn't have cable all my life. So the small amount of time when we did though, I was watching all the stuff I could watch. Like I was not playing with the people because my mom and my sister they don't do scary movies. They don't do the spooky
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like they don't play with it. They don't be doing none of that. So my mom didn't buy none of that stuff. So I had to kind of catch it when I could catch it.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got that direct TV, child, I used to be on Stars watching everything.
Yes, stars. Yeah,
I used to
I
love
once I started getting a little
Scream.
older, Scream was one I really enjoyed. I liked, you said 13 Ghosts, I really liked that one.
Hmm.
I also like the psychological horror movies because there was one that it was
Yeah.
considered scary. It would be considered a horror movie, but it's not like a gruesome horror movie. But it's Frailty, and it's an older movie. I think it's definitely from the 90s. But that one right there sends me every time. Oh, I love the
The
spiritual
Hannibal
horror movies always
franchise.
send me. I never
Oh
got into the Hannibal
yeah.
franchise.
Oh my god. The show. I used to watch the show Hannibal too.
Hmm.
Man. Oh my god. The show was so good, and Lawrence Fishburne was in it too. The show was so good. So good. I loved
I
the
really
Hannibal
just don't like
series.
serial killers. I don't know what it is about these movies, about these serial killers. I
But
just be like,
it's
I'm
the
not interested.
psychological aspect for me with Hannibal
I'd be like,
because he's
no,
smart and
thank
so
you.
like
He's so
the
intelligent.
but the thing is the show is before they actually caught him. They didn't know that he was the serial killer. So the show is
Hmm.
like it was like young Hannibal leading up to him. And when I tell you like it was so good the way they did the character because you know Hannibal was supposed to be like this genius and then he was
Hmm.
amazing cook also. He was cooking up the people.
Hmm.
And with Lawrence Fishburne's a detective. Man, the episode where he realized, because he used to go to eat with at dinner with him all the time, and when he realized that
He
like
been eating people.
you been feeding me the people that I've been looking for, It's crazy. It was so
Crazy.
good. It was so good though.
Literally crazy. That stuff like that. I mean, I've always had such a weird relationship with horror movies because I'll say this. Anytime, like with you and witches,
Hmm.
anytime a psychic was involved, I was always hooked.
Yeah.
Always hooked because I've always had that kind of clairvoyancy thing going on. So for me, like the Conjuring line, I
Yeah.
really enjoy the Conjuring
I
franchise.
love the Conjuring
I
franchise.
really, that one
So
and
good.
Insidious. Insidious
Ooh,
was another one.
yes, the
Insidious is
Insidious
my
franchise was
favorite.
good too.
Insidious is
Yes.
my favorite horror movie that I've watched. That I love the storyline. I loved the cast. I loved how they built like the anticipation. They put a
Hmm.
crazy creepy song in there, which I think if you can get a creepy song in there, you've done a really good job. because that's what people remember. People take that away from
I
the
think the
movie.
Freddie song is kind of creepy too.
I was just about to say the Freddie song. That's another one. Creepy. When you hear it, your mind goes there.
Hmm.
But even like I think that's Michael Myers theme song.
Yeah.
He's I mean like having a song really like it's like that nostalgia and that instant memory connection back to maybe the fear of watching the movie or what you know this
Hmm.
crazy person gonna do. Because I've always liked more of the fantasy. I know this isn't real type stuff than the real
Yeah.
stuff. And me watching Insidious and Conjuring were the ones that were a little more real. But it was also when I was coming into even more of my understanding of spirit and how some of those things do really exist on this realm. Now,
Hmm.
I have a list of horror movies, some that I've seen that I probably won't ever watch again because once was enough for me. So let's talk about it.
Yes.
Oh, actually, I have one more really good one that I really, really enjoyed. That I still feel like it's a horror movie, but it's really to me more of like a suspense thriller because I like thrillers around this time a lot. I love a
Hmm.
good psychological thriller. I love thrillers. But
Oh my God. Orphan
Orphan,
was so
so good,
good.
so good,
Like when you
so good,
find out that I was like, oh
mind
my
blown.
God.
You know my favorite
Orphan, did
part?
you watch the second one?
I did not watch the second one.
Watch the second one.
Okay, I'll watch the second
But
one.
Orphan
I
was
watched it
so
during this
good.
spooky season.
I was like, you
Um,
weird, tiny lady
you
girl,
weird woman.
Tinkerbell Bob. I don't know what
when
to tell
that
you.
the kick in the first one is my favorite part of the entire movie. The kick. You know what kick I'm talking about?
Yes.
The donkey
That
kick, the
little,
back donkey kick.
yes. That
Favorite part
little,
of the whole movie.
I was going to say that little girl, that little lady girl was bad. That little lady girl was something.
That heifer was
Heifer.
evil. That
Listen.
heifer was evil.
Did you see The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin?
No, I don't think so.
When I tell you, you need to watch The Good Son with
The
Macaulay
good
Culkin.
son. Okay.
That little
Okay.
boy is not the good son. I'll say that.
I've
But
seen.
it's giving like I'm actually a child. Like if the girl from Orphan was actually a child, and she just
Mhm.
was just like that.
What movie franchise is it that has The Omen? Is that its own franchise, The
Yeah,
Omen?
The Omen. Yeah.
Okay, I watched maybe the first one of those, and I was like, I'm good. I'm okay.
Did you watch any of the Paranormal Activities?
Oh yeah, I've seen every Paranormal Activity. It took me a
That's so
second
good.
to watch them because it just felt too real. When I watched the first one, I was like, ooh. And then how it ended, I was like, ooh, I need a break. And this is when I started smoking. I was like, I need a
Yeah.
smoke. I need a break.
Yeah.
This was a lot. And it
That's one
like I
thing I always tell people with spooky stuff is like when you get that, I need to cut it off moment, cut it off. If you
cut
feel
it
like you need to
off.
cut it off, cut it off.
Cut it off. And I finished that one, but it was the ending of that I was like, ooh, I'm putting on cartoons. I need to pray and I need a smoke break.
Now that's one
And
thing.
that's
I'll always watch something after. I don't never just leave it at
leave it at that.
horror.
Mm-mm. I
Where you
can't.
just don't leave it
Mm-mm.
at
Mm-mm. I
that.
can't. And
Did
that's
you
why,
see
like, that's
Sinister?
part of that was on my list of movies I won't watch again. That one was so gruesome and dark.
Sinister was wild.
It,
Sinister
it
was
was a very well
so
done movie.
good.
So well done. I will never watch it
I
again.
have a funny story about Sinister. So we went to see Sinister in college at the movie theater, right?
The hell if I would
And it was
have.
so funny because one of our friends, like, he don't do so he was like grabbing me while we were at the movie, and I was cracking up because this was like right up my alley. But we all come back to the apartment afterwards, right? We walk in the door, and I was the first person to walk in the door. All I saw, I looked to my left, and I just saw something like white, just like levitating, and I just took off out the door. Nobody knew why I ran out the door. Nobody knew. I just ran
She said, y'all
out
finna die with it. It's finna take y'all.
and say that.
Good luck.
And it was so funny because they come in and turn on the light, and they like, "What is you running for?" And I come back in. I'm like, "Y'all didn't see? I saw something over there. Like I saw something white floating." Child, while my roommate, she had her computer chair in the hallway with all her clothes from the laundry thing on it, and like she had like a white sheet over the damn
Oh, top
chair,
of
and
you
the chair was black. So when I come into this dark
didn't see
apartment,
it.
I
You
just
just
see
saw the
something
white
white
floating.
floating, and we just came back for this movie, and I want no parts of it. And they was like, "So you
Hmm.
wasn't gonna say?" I'm like, "Y'all saw me run out the door. If you walked in, whatever happened, happened." Because I was not, y'all saw me run, you should have came with me. Like,
Mm-mm.
if you saw me go this way, why would you go in? Like,
Mm-mm. Lesson of the story.
so just
D will leave you
understand.
with whatever it
If you
was.
see me take off, come with me. I don't have time for words. I don't have time to explain. Because that's what makes me mad in movies too. When we trying to go and you got somebody, you're not leaving until you tell me what's going on. Stay and dive in.
Then
Fine.
stay. Look, then stay.
Please understand. If you coming with me, you'll get left. Sorry,
Hmm.
you'll get left. Just know you will get. When it's time to go, it's time to go. If I gotta leave you behind, I will. Just understand that I am not Jesus. I will leave you.
Yeah, so Sinister's definitely one of the movies on my list that I probably won't watch again. Even
Hmm.
though, again, very well done. Really enjoyed it. I guess that's the best word to
If
use.
you were scared and
Because I
never
was
watch it again, you enjoyed
terrified.
it.
Yeah, terrified. But at the same time, that spiritual aspect of me was like, you better not ever press play on something
Oh,
like that again.
I've never
You,
watched Sinister again.
I was like, I could never
That
watch it again.
flash of that face on the screen that they did at
Mm-mm.
the end. How dare
Mm-hmm.
they? How
Mm-mm. The
dare they?
disrespect. And see, I like a good jump scare, but that's
Hmm.
when you go too far for me.
Yeah.
I'm good. And I have this theory that like, and I don't even think it's a theory. I think at this point, if someone really just spends a little bit more time investigating, collecting the facts, and putting together the report on it, it would be a law. It'd be an understanding at this point that certain energies are linked to different aspects of entertainment or the
Hmm.
story that they're basing it off of, and giving that energy to that entity or to whatever that is can make it that much more powerful, and it could materialize in
Like
your
The
own life in
Ring.
some form or fashion, like The
Because
Ring.
watching
Another
The
one I won't
Ring
watch
is a
again.
tricky thing because it's like that's a part of the movie is that they have
It's a part of the
seen these
movie.
and we watching the movie.
And we're watching the movie about the movie. So it's like, no.
Nobody needs to answer the phone. Would I tell you? Do you know when the first time I seen that the phone rang while we were watching it? Me and my
Mm-mm.
cousins in the living room watching it, and the phone rang, and nobody. And we all.
What's that movie called? One Missed Call. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I remember that one.
That's another one. I watched it once and I said I'm good. And like there's certain movies, and I think that's that is also the testament of a good movie maker, a good filmmaker
Hmm.
can leave you with something after film, whether it's intentional or not. Like Final Destination effed me up for a while, looking at
I watched
pictures,
all of
looking at
them.
video. I did too,
They are
every single one.
permanently embedded in my brain to where I see death everywhere. Like I can
Everywhere.
see ways to die everywhere.
Everywhere. But it's like that it changes your mentality or the way that your mind processes
Yeah,
information sometimes. Like, because I remember, what was it, five? Three. It was three, the one where they were at the roller coaster
five
at
was
the theme
lit.
park.
The
Five was
one
lit.
where they was on the thing that go around and
And then they
yeah,
had taken to
that's
get
why
them
I
all
don't
out.
get on
But then
rides at the
remember,
fair.
he took the picture and everything was in the
Yes,
pictures, the way that everybody was. So I couldn't look at pictures for several months after watching that one. It was just too much because I saw one picture where it was like a flash of light behind me, and I said, "Oh, I
that's why
can't do it."
nobody likes to drive behind lumber trucks. We all see
Period.
that
Still
happening
to this day,
to this
because that was what
day.
the second one. That one was
To this
good too. Every one of
day,
them was really, really well.
it
Especially
was
the first
so
three, I
good.
feel like were my favorites in the franchise. The first three were like so good to me.
The one where he had the staple. It wasn't a staple gun. What's the nail
It was the
gun?
nail gun. That was two or three. That was crazy. The girl in the tanning bed.
The girl on the tanning bed got
The
cracked and
woman in
had
the
her
elevator.
legs to the side. The
Come on
woman,
now. The
the
elevator
woman in the
lady.
elevator.
I felt so bad for her because they
Listen,
were trying. They were
when
trying
I
so
tell you I
hard.
walk out of the elevator so fast, I go in, I go out. I
You will
chase out
never
the
see me with a
elevator.
long
And
pony.
when I tell you, let me tell you something. I walk in and I hit that closed door behind me. You better be already in. You better already be in. I'm not taking no
That
chances.
was that one. Yeah, that elevator was something serious. Because that whole movie, they were just. What movie was it where I think it was the last one where they ended up having all of them in the same place at the same time again. And it was, oh no, it was a prequel. Never mind. The last one that came out was a prequel to the first one.
I don't think I saw the last one. I lied.
It's called the Final Destination.
Didn't see that.
I think that was the last one they
I saw
did.
that, but maybe I didn't.
hmm But it's just, I think, like there's certain movies that, like I said, I just can't go back to. I watched The Exorcist with my brother. We were way too young to be watching The Exorcist also.
Mm-hmm.
We were way too young. And it was the original. And I wanted to watch it because it was number one on a list at that time, early 2000s maybe, a
Yeah,
list of the top 100 scary movies. Because I would watch Countdown. I love me a Countdown now. Give me a countdown, tell me what
listen.
the best movies are. And they used to have them on, like, I think it was called Spike at the time. I think it was a channel
Oh
called
yeah, I
Spike.
remember Spike.
And they would have
Yeah.
countdowns. And they had a countdown of the top 100. They'd have like top, 50 wrestlers and like they have all these countdowns. So they had a top
Mm-hmm.
100 or so horror movies. And number one was The Exorcist. And I had never seen it. So I was like,
I'd
so
be
me and my
surprised
brother,
you never watched a horror
me and
movie.
my brother were hanging out and they had The Exorcist. And I was like, ooh, they said this is the scariest movie. We should watch it.
Were
I
they
had
right?
no business watching that movie at like 8,
I
9.
mean,
No business.
but they had told you.
That's what
They
they had
told you.
said. I was scared. And
They
it's
told you
another
you
movie
would
that,
be.
but it's also for me, the content of it,
Yeah.
why I won't watch
Did
it
you see
again. Like
Mirrors?
I don't think so.
You should watch Mirrors.
I don't know that I should.
Mirrors, Mirrors, Mirrors got me. Mirrors was
No, if
good.
it got you, what am I going to do watching it?
Mirrors was so good.
Uh-uh. Now
You got.
y'all just heard me say I don't love horror movies like
We're gonna.
Dita, and she
I'm
said
coming to
it got her,
Alabama,
so
and
she want me
we're
to watch it.
watching Mirrors. I have the DVD, so it got me, but I have the DVD. It's good.
A
It
mess.
was good enough for me to
What's
have
another
it.
one? Another exorcism. It's always exorcism movies for me too. Exorcism of Emily Rose. Won't ever watch that one
Oh
again.
yeah, I remember
No,
that.
thank you. No, ma'am. No ham. No turkey. I'm good. We can pass her on by. I've seen it once. That was enough. I never want to see that actress in a role like that ever again. I loved her in White Chicks, and I never want to see her in anything like that ever again. Um, I had another one. I
What
won't
was
watch
the
The Deliverance again. I really don't have any
really?
reason to watch The
I
Deliverance
mean,
again.
I was gonna
But
say
it's the
I'm
content.
not either, but it's
It's
not
the con
because for
like
no reason. I just
but
I'm
it's
cool.
because now I know the true story behind The Deliverance. I don't want to give
Now
that any more of
that
my energy.
I'll never watch Demon House
Demon
again.
House. I could watch Demon House again,
Watching Demon
but
House again. You seen what happened to Debbie,
you're right. I'm not watching Demon House again either. But it's
so
like
you see
for
what
me,
happened to
it's
Zach.
that type of stuff. It's that type of stuff that is just that has more roots in our realm that
Yeah.
I can't spend my spiritual energy on that. I'm like, ooh, I have to leave that one where it was. And like I said, Insidious, I can get with that because it entertains me. What's her name? What was the psychic's name? I want to call her Clarice, but that's not it because we were talking about Hannibal Lecter. Um, I can see that old lady's face from Insidious. You remember the older woman? She was the psychic, and she was in Insidious. The psychic. She went and got the man, and she was fighting with the demons.
I don't know her name.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I know because I remember when I first watched that movie, I hollered that lady's name. I was like, "Come on now, whatever your name is." Because she came through. It's gonna come to me later on,
I
but
don't know her name. I ain't seen Insidious in a while.
that not again. That is a franchise I will continue to watch. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, every time
I
they
will
drop one, I'm
say
going, but I don't run them back.
The Conjuring, when they dropped The Nun, that's when I won't watch again. I'm
The
good.
Nun was
I won't watch The
that.
Nun again. I won't watch Annabelle
She was.
again. I won't watch Annabelle. I watched her once. I'm good. Don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
Like all the
And what's
Annabelle
the
movies,
one?
watched it
What's
once
the
because she's
one
a
with
real
the
doll. I
other?
don't
The
need to see anything else
other.
about her.
What's the one with the other marionette doll? The guy, the one with he had the little rosy cheeks. It was a boy doll. I don't fool with them either. I can't remember. He was so creepy looking too. Like, ooh,
I think I know
yeah,
who
I
you're
don't do
talking about
them.
too. I wonder if he's based on that doll, Bob. Did you ever hear the story about Bob?
I think that's what he was supposed to be based. I cannot remember the
Because
name of that movie though.
he's one
When he
of
had like a
the
black suit
things
on with the
with the
red
little
bow
hat.
tie.
Mm-mm,
He ain't
mm-mm.
have no hat
I think
on.
he's based on Bob, but Bob don't look like that. But I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about because he had he's like the what are they called?
A
Not a mime,
ventriloquist dummy.
ventriloquist dummy. There it is.
Yeah, that's what he
That's what he
was.
is.
And I,
Yes. Mm-mm.
oh,
I'm good.
he got,
Even I'm gonna put myself out
Anytime
there.
they zoom in on the face of the doll, I always look away because
What?
you're not looking in my
I'm
soul,
not gonna
bitch.
meet eyes with you.
Nope.
Like, why would y'all do that? Because
I
even
never
the
make eye
one,
contact with them dolls.
what was his name? Even the one that was in Goosebumps. I remember reading
Oh
Goosebumps
yeah,
about
his
that
little
doll,
ugly
and I was like,
self.
little ugly. I'm good on him. Now there
I
are some
love
other horror
Goosebumps
movies
though. I love the
I really
Goosebumps series.
liked. Tales from the Hood. Really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
Tales from the Hood was
Really
good.
enjoyed that, especially the one
Leprechaun
about
in the Hood was good.
Leprechaun in the Hood. Do you remember the one about the little? Had the little. They were like, I want to call. They were slaves. They were slaves, but they're like little dolls. Do you
Yes,
remember
little
that one?
figurines.
The little figure. That was one of my favorite stories in Tales from the Hood. I loved that one. Candyman. Candyman was another one
Candyman.
that, as a kid, I could watch it and really enjoy it. And I don't know why I was enjoying that movie as a kid, but I
Yeah.
was. But I got older
Look,
and I was scared
Vampire
of it
in
again.
Brooklyn. Did you see that?
I've seen it maybe once. Maybe once. Um,
Vampire in Brooklyn was lit.
maybe once.
But that doggone Leprechaun from Leprechaun in the Hood used to be one of my favorites. And it should have
I
been. I
liked
was too young.
Leprechaun in the Hood. I was too young, but I liked Leprechaun in the Hood. It was funnier to me than it was scary. But
Yeah.
even Chucky, like, I feel like Chucky was
Chucky
scary the
started to
first
get
three.
funny.
And then
Mm-hmm.
once it was like Bride of Chucky, he started getting funny. And my brother
Mm-hmm.
started putting me on at that point. My brother's younger than me too, but he started putting me on at that point. He was like Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky. And
Yeah,
then they
now they
started
just
getting
be funny.
garbage. Like Curse of Chucky was garbage.
Yeah.
Boo. But the show, phenomenal.
I didn't see the show.
Girl, you need to see the
I'm gonna
show.
watch the show. I'm gonna watch the show.
Because the show connects the whole Chucky universe.
What's the show on?
It's on Sci-Fi. And I didn't even finish the
Okay.
first season. There's a second season. But it's called
Ooh.
Chucky. It's just
Okay,
called
I'm gonna watch
Chucky.
it.
And I think it
This is
might be
perfect time to
on
watch it.
YouTube. It is. Period. Um, so before we wind this thing on down, I wanted to bring up some real life ghost stories. Because being who I am and what I've experienced in this life, I know I got a couple, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you do too. But one of the ones that sticks out to me the most, and I might have brought it up on the podcast before, but one of the first ones that sticks out to me the most is when I went on a vacation with my mom, two of my aunts, and Aisha, and we went to New Orleans. It was my first time going to New Orleans. I just got my car. We made a road trip out of it. It was cute. We were having so much fun. We got there. We get settled into this Airbnb right in New Orleans, not far from anything. I mean, it's like a 10-minute ride from everything. It's like so close to everything. And it's obviously an old, like, duplex kind of, that has been renovated. Really nice. But it still had some of those original pieces, like the floors, some of the crown molding. You could tell things were like certain things they were kept. They were like a little antique, little vintage feel to them. So as we're settling in, I think we go out to eat that first night. Everything's wonderful. Me and Aisha have our little small break, and we go to bed. That night, I, for the life of me, could not sleep. So this is how it was set up: is there was a big room in the front that was like a living room. It had a pull-out sofa and a TV, had a kitchen attached to it. And there was a hallway. Down the hallway, there were two doors, one that went to a bathroom and one that went to a bedroom that had two beds in it. The bedroom with two beds had my aunts in there. My mom was in the main room, in the sofa bed, and me and Aisha were in the back room, which would have been the main bedroom, in like a queen size bed. And so all night, as I would try and fall asleep, I would doze off And then I would feel energy rush right up to me. You know, like how you can feel somebody run up on you, even if you can't see
Mm-hmm.
them. I would feel it, and I would open my eyes thinking somebody was in the room every single time. And nobody would be there. I'd look around. Aisha's sleeping peacefully. Look around, think I'm tripping. Okay, try and fall asleep again. And this went on all night. Energy
Yeah.
rush up. As soon as I would get ready to doze off, I would feel it just rush up on me. I'll wake up. Okay. I finally get to sleep, and I might be maybe slept like 2 hours. So I finally get up, and I can hear people are bustling a little bit, but I get up and I walk into where my mom slept, and I can smell coffee. That's what got me up. I smell coffee. So I get up. She's having a cup of coffee. I get me a cup of coffee, and I say, "Mom, how did you sleep last night?" And she said, "Child, I barely got a wink. It sounded like people were moving in upstairs. There was not an upstairs." And I said, "Really? You didn't sleep either?" I said, "For me, it sounded like people were walking up and down the hall all night, and like somebody kept walking up to my side of the bed. It was like they would walk into the room right up to my side of the bed and stop. And I would wake right up every time." And she said, "It just sounded like people were moving in. Like I just bumping all night." And so I'm thinking maybe the sound was the people in the duplex next door. The aspect of it that was next door to ours. Because there was no
Mm-hmm.
connecting door, but it was like, like when they have
Somebody
those
just
real
walking
narrow
up and down the
houses.
hallway.
Yeah, like maybe they were walking up and down, or even maybe their couch was right there. I don't know. I don't know how theirs is set up.
But
Yeah,
why
there's
is
no
something
telling.
standing over you though? Is the question.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's what it is. Okay. So we go, and everybody the next day goes on little excursions. My mom and my aunts go somewhere. Me and Aisha go and travel the city. And we were in a Uber, and we were talking to the driver. And I was like, yeah, like I think there's a chance that like our Airbnb might be a little haunted. It might have a little spirit or something in there. And I remember the driver was a young black woman, and she turned to us and she said, "Baby, everything in New Orleans is haunted. There's spirits everywhere." She's like, "So it's
You lying?
probably, yeah, that's probably true." So next night, no issues. Sleep peacefully, got rest. Last night, Saturday night, we were there. Resting, get to sleep. We had a great day, ate good food, traveled all around the city, saw the things. Go to bed. This time around, nothing feels like it's running up on me all night. But Aisha heard this, just as I heard. Early that morning, which would have been Sunday morning, we just hear some down the hall. And it kept sounding like it was coming down the hall and stopping in front of the vanity that was in our room. And it sounded completely different than how the bumping had sounded the night that we'd heard it the first night. Because that first night, it just sounded like flat shoes, like regular just shoes. But the second time we heard it, it sounded like heels. Like they had put on a heeled shoe, and maybe we're getting ready for church. That was Aisha's theory. She's like, maybe they kept stopping at the vanity because they were sitting down in their routine getting ready. Like maybe that's what that was, because she actually heard it that night. And it was just wild. It was one of the wildest things, because
That is wild.
there was nothing malevolent about it. We were never messed with. Nothing was out of place. Nobody was harmed, possessed, nothing
Don't
crazy like
say it
that.
over me.
But
Don't
I
say
think
it
that
over me.
something was trying to get me to recognize it was there. And I
I'm
wonder
okay.
why. Maybe I'm sleeping on their side of the bed.
Let me
I
sleep.
don't know. It was so peculiar, because I've always found that for me, because I am so spiritually sensitive, sometimes it seems like spirits like to mess with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because either they think I don't recognize that they're there, and then I will, or they know I can recognize that they're there, and they just want somebody to mess with. Because it's usually on some trickster stuff. They just be trying to mess with
Yeah.
me. Um, but I've also told Dee
That's
this
so
one story
crazy.
of a time I encountered a spirit, and it was completely benevolent. I'm almost 100% sure I was related to whoever it was. But I woke up in the middle of the night, because I did tell you this story, right? About waking up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, woke up in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the night, and my instinct was to sit up, and I sat up, and I was embraced, like a hug. It was like a gentle hug, but it was like something embraced me. Because I was going through it too, y'all. I was going through it at this time, and I was like at my wit's end, and I was just like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to see light at the end of the tunnel. And I just remember waking up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting straight up and being embraced. And just being like, I remember being like, looking around like, what was that? And then it was like this calm came over me because I knew it was a hug. I recognized it probably was a family member who maybe
Mhm.
passed on to the other side that wanted to encourage me. I don't know. You never know. It's just interesting because around this time of year, I always think about those kinds of things. I think about
Yeah.
the spirits and the
That
energies that we
spirit
sometimes don't
standing over you.
recognize.
That's why I don't do like cracked doors. I need the doors closed. Like at night, the doors got to be closed. I don't do cracked doors
Hmm.
because if the door is cracked, I feel like somebody just standing there and they just looking.
I
It's
feel
like
that. That can be
I
spooky. Yeah,
don't,
that can be spooky. It
I don't
definitely can be
want to
spooky.
feel like you are standing over me because now I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to turn over, like, because
Hmm.
I'm definitely not gonna turn my back because you're not fit to snatch
Definitely
me
not
up.
turning my
Like,
back to you, period.
you're
Yeah,
not fit to snatch your girl up. But I
I
also
am,
don't want to see you.
I'm especially strange about that in unfamiliar places. Like if I'm staying
Mhm.
somewhere, I'm definitely
Yeah.
closing the door. I'm definitely making sure everything is secured. Vacation, another friend's house, whatever, like that just makes me feel better. For sure, I've
Mhm.
got that. At home, I do keep one of my doors open. It's
Mm-mm.
just, it works for me energetically. It's an energy thing. Plus the AC comes from that room into my room. So that's wonderful. We love that.
Well, we love a good
Um,
piece of wind,
we
honey.
love a good piece of the AC. Trying to see if there's any other spooky stories that I can think of. Do you have any encounters with the other side?
Well, first of all, I don't even know if I told y'all this when we were in New Orleans, but that day when y'all went on the
To the swamp?
yes. So the reason, remember I was sitting in the car waiting for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I was sitting in the car waiting for y'all is because when I was getting ready, I had walked out of the room I was staying in and I had closed the door behind me because I didn't need nothing else, but I was gonna come chill out in the, and wait for y'all. But when I was walking and I just heard like this loud slam and
Oh,
I was like, it was like it was like somebody slammed against the door. When I tell you I walked out that house and really got naked, when I got the
nope.
gun,
I'm like big on
I didn't
that.
go back and look. I didn't try to confirm what it.
Mm-mm.
Nope. I walked right. Something was like, "Oh, get the fuck out," and I got on out. Cause,
Period.
I was like, did something just get mad that I closed the door? And I was that was like my first thought. And it's like if that's my
Mm-mm.
first thought, maybe I get out of the second thought was let me go.
Mm-mm.
I was sitting in the car
Nope.
waiting on y'all.
And see that is another thing for me is I'm really big on like if something gives me a sign that I shouldn't be somewhere, I get out. But also your spirit, especially like that's why I always encourage people to dive inward and to really
Hmm.
get comfortable with your spirit and to listen to that spiritual voice because it will warn you when you're in places you shouldn't be, or it will try and empower you in places when something might try and take you for weak. So when, that
Hmm.
same trip when we were in New Orleans, I experienced a lot my first trip in New Orleans, a lot energetically. We went on a tour. It was called the Bad Bitches Tour. Such a fun time. And the reason it was called the Bad Bitches Tour is because they take you on a tour of the city in the French Quarter, but they show you where all of these women, these powerful women throughout the history of New Orleans were. And we went to the French Quarter, not the French Quarter. We were at what's the part where they have all of the flea market type of situation? Oh my gosh, what's it called? Is that the French Quarter? I don't think so.
In the Treme?
But it's huh?
In the Treme?
I don't know. There's an area though, but I can't remember. But there was an
Yeah.
area where it was
What's the
near
area?
it was near maybe the port or something. I can't remember
Near the
exactly where it was
Riverwalk?
in the city. Maybe near the Riverwalk, maybe. But it's a specific area where when we were there during the day, they had like an African festival thing going where it was, and it wasn't even, I don't think it was a festival. I think it was just literally like a flea market where everyone had all
Hmm.
these different tents and stuff set up, but whatever. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right across I know exactly what you're
Okay.
talking
You know what
about
I'm
because
talking about.
it's
So
it's French Quarter adjacent and it's
it's
like
French Quarter
between the
adjacent.
French Quarter
Exactly.
and
Okay. I'm like, I
yes,
felt
I know
like we were
exactly what you're
near or
talking
in
about.
the French Quarter.
Yes.
Yes. So there we got a story about, the prostitutes back in the day, how they was These was not no regular prostitutes. These was prostitutes that carried the knives. They was thugs. They was ready to fight. If you weren't about to give them their money, they was gonna gang together and tear you up. And that's what they did. But also on this tour, we saw the residences and we learned about the lives of both um, Marie Laveau and Delphine Lalaurie. And
Mhm.
when the first one whose house we went to was Delphine Lalaurie, which for those of you who've seen American Horror Story Season 3 Coven, you know exactly who I'm talking about. She was played by Kathy Bates, vile woman, very evil, but it was also believed that she was a practitioner of witchcraft. And she experimented on her slaves and she tortured them and she did all types of just wild things. But this was a woman of true evil, a true racist, evil, like woman. Evil.
Mhm.
When we were in front of her house, I began to get the most piercing headache. Like it was like
Yeah,
migraine
because
level
you don't need
headache.
to be over there.
And when we were standing there and the girls talking to us, telling us about the house, like Aisha standing right beside me. And first I start like this because I feel it like in the center of my head, like center, like
Mhm.
just going straight through. And I turned to her and I'm like, my head is killing me. And then the girl says, um, locals actually don't walk on that side of the street. Anytime they come near her house, they cross the street and go on the other side of the street and go around so that they don't
Then
come in
why the
contact
hell are
because
we here?
we were across the street. We weren't on the street. We were
Oh.
across it. We were actually across it. She was like, but locals choose not to walk on the street where the house is because many of them complain of sharp pains in their heads, their bodies aching. They'll hear things, they start feeling the energy of the place where she lived.
Mhm.
Craziest thing happened next. So after she said that, I had just told Aisha my head was hurting. I look up and I see water dripping, like pouring down from this one place on the house because it's big. It takes up like, I mean, and to put it into perspective, this woman was incredibly wealthy. She was like an heiress of like a lot of money from France. She was old money that had been moved to Louisiana. So she was
Mhm.
very wealthy. And so the house is huge. It is a mansion. It's huge. I mean, it takes up the block. It really takes up the block. It was big
Because
for
I
it to be
sure I
right
was
in.
like, how the people that live on the block be living on the block?
It's a block though. It like takes up most of that block. It's huge.
Yeah.
So they were saying that someone had bought the house, chose to buy it anonymously because he didn't want people to know he had the house. Even though he doesn't
Mhm.
stay in it regularly, but because of the energy of it and everything, he didn't want people to know he had it. And he's wealthy and he's a celebrity is what we heard. But we're looking at the house and she's like, and he's not in town right now. There's a light on inside of the house and there's water falling off of the balcony, pouring. I mean, like it had not rained that day. There was no rain, but it was pouring straight down just from this one particular area, like it had leaked and just water was pouring down. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. It was the only part of the house where this was happening. There was no rain. It wasn't a water feature. It wasn't a special waterfall. It was this one part of the house where water was pouring down. And if you know the story of some of the things that she did to her slaves, she would have slaves that she, like one of her female slaves, she had tortured. And this woman on their second or third story managed to escape by jumping. She unalived herself to get away from them. And that's where she came off was the railing. I'm not going to say it was where the water was pouring from, but that's what it felt like to me. Like it felt like a sign to me. But I just remember like looking at Aisha, like, do you see that? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's not. So people are taking pictures of the house and they're seeing stuff in the pictures and the tour guides are just brushing it off. Like, no, that's just a shadow. Oh no, that's just the glare. But it was just so interesting because the second we got away, headache went away, everything. And it was truth to intention because once we were in front of um, Marie Laveau's home, I felt nothing ill, no headache, no bad energy, no nothing about that space. And it was
Mhm.
her actual home. That looked more like a
Mhm.
home. But it was just so interesting to me because New Orleans is filled with so much energy.
Yeah.
There's a lot that has happened
I
over
love New
the
Orleans.
past, since it's been there.
Mhm.
And between the spiritual works of New Orleans voodoo, between the natural things like Hurricane Katrina, between its origins and all of the horrors that have happened there, there is a
Even
lot.
at Armstrong Park, they're so like when I went to Armstrong Park, to that area where the Black and Native American slaves used to come on Sundays, and like when I took, you can literally feel the energy there. It's
It's
so
thick.
thick.
It's
Like,
thick in New Orleans.
yes,
It's very thick. So yes. Well, y'all, we are really just kicking this spooky season off. We're
yes.
excited to get into more with our following episodes. We thank y'all for tuning into this one. And guess what? We're gonna see you in the next one.
We're gonna
Peace
work
and
all
love.
night down to drink a rum.
Yes, daylight
Daylight
come and we won't go
come
home.
and we won't go home. Favorite song.
Peace.
Why am I clicking on my mouse like I'm on my computer? Cool.
We got through it. That was good. Oh, it's still recording.